is set now, the way it most likely will happen is as each tenant vacates the place and a new tenant comes up, the owner will require that a new storefront be put in to match any one of the modulars or the set opening as required. Our details here, we've got a standard, it's a 2x4, and we've got some nice trim OG style profile in here that gives detail to the storefront, and a little cap here that even gives a little bit more detail. There's a better close-up in plan of what that looks like. The doors are set back to require the 18 maximum allowed projection into the street. Here's a sample of all of the different colors, and the colors relate to the buildings here in this corner.
Are those intended as paint colors for the different storefronts?
The storefronts are aluminum, they would be baked on colors.
And are those colors related to the rest of the building in any way, or how'd you pick them out? Just like them?
Well, we started with red, blue, green. We decided that gray would be better, and I looked at separating the buildings by colors, so none of the two colors touch each other. We wanted to differentiate the different buildings by adding different colors, and being a landmark building, our color options are limited, so we went with the dark green, dark gray, and red.
But are these palettes that you see within the district, or are you, in your opinion, match the colors of the remaining material in the building? The red sort of does. I mean, they're all very subtle.
They're very subtle. They're meant to show distinct colors, and do I have photos? Well, most of the buildings are obviously a brick and colored, so the gray, as opposed to just an anodized bronze, was our other option. But
Okay. Questions for the applicant? Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
No questions, we can close the hearing. Well, I wasn't here when this came before the commission, but I think just looking at the presentation material they gave us, I think the approach that they've taken to the master plan is a really significant improvement to what there was before, which had a much more generic quality to it. It seems this master plan responds to varying storefronts in terms of its size, and I think it also allows for a certain amount of variety, as well as reflecting that they're different buildings and therefore there shouldn't be some kind of uniform set of guidelines. So I think from that perspective, it's very consistent. It'll allow these storefronts to be in character with the district, and at the same time it would allow for the adaptive use of the ground floor. I think the openings are also sort of reflective of some of the openings that you have today that reflect the industrial character, which are larger openings that are similar to docks. And I think that there's, a practical issue of trying to find ways to address access to these storefronts. And I think the vocabulary that they've used in terms of the railing seems very simple and consistent what the Commission has seen in other industrial districts.
Can I call you back?
Are there any concerns? Any concerns? Okay, good. So then we can move to decision. Did you want to read the resolution?
Yeah, can I call you back?
Okay.
In the matter of 68 J Street in the Dumbo Historic District, the application is to create a master plan governing the future installation of storefront infill and signage, and to legalize alterations to the loading dock without Landmarks Preservation Commission permits. I recommend approval, finding that existing storefront infill at the J Street, Water Street, Pearl Street, and Front Street openings are later alterations, and their removal will not eliminate any historic fabric. That the ground floor of this building has undergone several alterations that reflect the various uses and functions of these bays over time, and the proposed storefronts will be in keeping with the history of adaptive reuse of this building. that the configuration of the proposed storefront infill featuring large display windows, bulkheads, transoms, and glass and aluminum framed doors will successfully recall the transparency of the historic loading bays while still providing a level of solidity and articulation found in the historic punched window openings. That the proposed metal material with matte baked-on enamel finish will impart the visual characteristics of the historic painted wood framing found on the historic windows at the buildings and on infill buildings of this age, type, style in the district. That the proposed use of 3 different finish colors will recall the different phases of the building's construction and will help to visually distinguish the different facades. That the addition of concrete ramps at the Water, J, and Front Street facades will be in keeping with historic changes to loading bays at this building and will match the existing loading docks in terms of material and details. That the proposed ramps will improve the accessibility of the storefronts at this building. That the steel pipe railings proposed for the new ramps and for the existing Pearl Street ramp are in keeping with the existing railings found on this building and throughout this historic district. That the location and scale of the pin-mounted metal lettering with the lintel above the storefront openings is proportional to the sign band area. That the consistency in materials, details, and finish of the proposed storefront infill will bring a sense of unity to the commercial base of the building, while the proposed variations in configuration for the individual store bays will reflect the irregular rhythm and size of openings found at the building base, which are as a result of the changes in grade and the changing industrial and commercial uses at this building over time. And that the articulation and profiles of the storefront framing will be consistent with the level of articulation and detail found in the various facades of this building. That the number of proposed vertically oriented metal bracket signs will not overwhelm the building and the streetscape. And that the proposed regularized location of signs, aligning with the decorative brick spandrels of the second-story windows, will result in a harmonious and consistent appearance at the building base, and that the proposed work is in keeping with the industrial and commercial character of the building and the Dumbo Historic District.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? This application's been approved.